do anything to this man.
Yeah, it goes into the sensationalized era of media outlets due to their revenue streams, right? So, what controls them is their revenue stream, and obviously, with the first administration with Trump and the fake news and everything that happened with COVID, and then Biden and everything that happened through that administration to where we are now, it's just become absolute theater in my opinion. We're literally watching like entertainment television. This is a soap
This
opera.
point, at this point, bro, because I'm just like I'm reading into this, and I'm just like, bro, this was a complete waste of their time to just go after his Emergency Powers Act tariff. If y'all, I thought the argument was his tariffs in general, but then when I really start reading into it, I'm like, oh no, this is dumb. He can always switch over to other means. So
Well, yeah, and tariffs, yes, they're a tax upon the people, but we have to understand that we have been flabbergasted with this economy that's just been nonsense. Even when you
wait,
go
hold
back
on, hold on.
to get
So you're also of the mind that tariffs is a tax on the people?
well, tariffs are a tax, but what I'm going to go into is that our monetary system has been just jacked ever since the institution of the Federal Reserve. So it's going back to the source of the problem, and then seeing the evolution of the problem creating our situation right now. So yet again, if we had strong manufacturing in the United States, if we didn't abandon our systems that were actual plentiful and kept our economy good back from the 1900, from the war era, that we actually can be productive citizens, and we can be a productive society, to where we are now, to where no one has a purpose anymore.
Hmm.
I mean, literally, crime is and entertainment are the two main revenue streams of this country. You know, you got drugs, and whether they be legal or illegal, and then you got entertainment. There's not really that much production being done in the United States anymore.
And that's true. But that's the thing. That's what tariffs was honestly fixing. It was getting these guys to go in a different direction instead of just completely selling out to foreign interests. And that was being proven across sectors in pharmaceuticals, chip manufacturing. So we can't
Hmm.
sit there and say that these tariffs was a failure or it was just Trump, a money grab for Trump, because Lord knows it wasn't that. And we can't even say it was a tax on the American people. It was a direct expense or an extra expense put on these corporate elites that they wanted off them. They were willing to bitch to the courts about it.
Well, and if you look at bringing anything back to this country, right? So to become more self-reliant, which I talk about all the time, as far as on an individual basis. But on a country basis, when you're more self reliant, the globalist agenda becomes non existent anymore. Global economics
Yep.
becomes where we're not sending our crap to India so that the common man in India can suffer. We're going
Yeah,
to
you're
have to take
like,
responsibility for
hold
that
on. If I could
ourselves, right?
interrupt you real quick, you're touching on a real important point because you're touching on like, well, free trade and what was it originally supposed to be established upon? If we can't make it here, then okay, we can try to get it overseas or somewhere else. But if we can make it here, we would only be shooting ourselves in the foot to not do it here and try to have somebody do it for us. And that's what free trade was supposed to be about. So,
Right, and then if you take the liberal standpoint of being a clean world, saving the planet, then we're not going to ship the responsibility over to a country that has less regulation, right? We're going to find a better way to take care of it so that it's not toxic to our planet, right? We're going to evolve into another system to where we're not going to be reliant on the things that kill our planet, right? And that's
mhm.
more of a liberal point of view. But you have to get off the global agenda.
Man, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like, I thought that, I'll give it to you. I see where you're coming to now because you're pretty much saying that the liberals are still of that global agenda to the point where they're even willing to defend corporate elites over it.
And that's why we don't have a two-party system. We just have this people saying that they're of a different color, but they all do the same crap.
That is true. I mean, let's be real. One of their main arguments, well, it's a nonsensical argument for, oh, it's a straight tax on the consumer. So I don't even engage that. But when they do say, oh, we're messing with our foreign partners, ruining relations and all that good stuff, now I'm starting to see where your argument hits home, because you're like, oh well, they're still aligned with the globalist agenda, and we should just all be part of the world instead of relying on ourselves.
Well, but we'll send our nasty shit to another country so that we don't have to deal with it, right? The toxins and everything else. We'll do harm to other poor populations just so that we don't have to deal with it, right? That's not taking accountability. So we'll ship all our chips and everything and all our computer trash to India, and then you'll see some guy that gets paid I don't know how many rupees per day to inhale toxic fumes to extract the precious metals out of those circuit boards, right?
True.
Or it's like or the manufacturing of iPhones by children in China or Jordans or you know what I
I
mean?
know, I get
It's
what
like
you're saying. It's like, here's the thing though, and I don't think the Dems really get this. Like, they're supporting the very things that they say they're against. Like, you would be outraged if we had made Americans work like that, but you're saying that, oh well, for cheaper phones, it's okay if we make the Indians or the Chinese people work like that. Hey, a cheap iPhone. But what the hell? I
yes.
mean, I'm be real with you. I'd rather pay more for an iPhone than allow like what a bunch of Indians and Chinese people to work in unsafe conditions, and I'm just supposed to be okay with that because I get a cheap iPhone that ain't even cheap, by the way.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, what's happening? I believe it's in Burkina Faso where they took over their gold mines and their diamond mines and told the French
Facts.
to go pound sand. So it's like for their for people to be free individuals, right? To have liberties and to be free, you don't have to have oppression. We can have global cooperation, yes. If you want to have global trade, yes. Let's not isolate it to these oligarchs, right? To these elites. Start taking, being a libertarian, I take the position of understanding what the labor and the value of production is. I look at the environment and everything else. I don't take a position of well I'm going to grandstand because and then be a hypocrite by saying I'm gonna backdoor everybody and then line my pockets as a politician.
Mm.
Right? It's being principled. You can see politicians aren't principled.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that one. Like the way they try to sell it, I don't know. And this is why I always do say, ask questions of your politics. I'm talking to the Democratic base and the Republican. Like, we need to start asking more critical questions of these guys, because the fact that they were able to sell you this, and like, every Dem was against, these guys getting what, tax cuts, these guys getting bailouts back in Bush. You guys against all that, them receiving billions of dollars to, well, raise their prices. I mean, we're all against that, but here you guys are championing it. And I mean, let's be real. I don't honestly think these guys are going to get back their money from tariffs because, well, the Supreme Court hasn't really laid out a refund method, to be real with you. But if that was the case, this is what you guys would have been championing: billions of dollars going back to corporate elites, which you guys have been against before. So it kind of shows the Trump derangement syndrome in the matter. It's like, oh, wow. So Trump attacks the corporate elites. You're for them. But I mean, if any other president did it, you guys have been all for it.
Well, and it just goes into the fact it's not. We don't like Chris Rock said. We don't want you taking your drugs. We want you taking our drugs, right?
Yep.
It's when we tell it to you, it's okay. So the Democrats, the what I break everything down to is that it just depends on which party wants the control over who has the use of force in this country, because it doesn't. Nothing changes. If anything, no matter who's in power, Democrats or Republicans, things still go the same way as to where it's going to be the elite class and just the poor again. It's going to be like a monarchy where you have a kingdom and everybody just works for nothing. And you'll get the crumbs and all that. We'll give you the 3D printed meat, and you'll eat the bugs, and you know we'll actually be able to eat true beef and organic material that is produced naturally without pesticides and chemicals. We have our own private doctors. We don't have to worry about the schedules or any of this other stuff. We don't go through the court system. We understand that we can settle out of court with the Secretary of State. And people don't understand that there absolutely is a different class system. I mean, why are none of these politicians going to prison? Why? Oh, well, they just get off and they ride off into the sunset. I'm sorry, there is no
Now, I'll be real
accountability
with you. Now,
anymore.
you're making a good point. Politicians and businessmen get away with a lot of shady stuff. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, okay, with the Epstein files and how a lot of these politicians are implicated, both on the left and the right. Like Zorro Ranch, the entire Democratic Party of New Mexico needs to be investigated for that. Like, let's be honest. Now, what was going on with Epstein in Florida? Bro, all of them need to invest, and those are mostly Republicans. They all need to be investigated for that mishap. So you're right, it is a slip up on both sides. And then, of course, the unaccountability of the corporate elites. I mean, well, that we allow them, because think about it, they hire illegal immigrants, and we come in there, we take them out, but nobody goes to jail. Like,
Well, and
last time I checked,
look
that
at
was a felony.
well, so check this out. When we can see, oh, there's an opioid crisis. That's linked directly to one company, one family. Oh, well, they got fined for billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, but then they created the company that sold the antidote for the product that they created, and they became billionaires right again. Like, get the fuck out of here! And I apologize, but it's like,
Yeah,
let's look at it for what it is. Let's look at the reality. There are no consequences for these people. You can take the housing bubble. You can take all these people that take advantage of these systems and just like, well, screw everybody else because as long as I'm lining my pockets, I'm good. No
yeah, like
accountability. It's just insane. But yet again, if you're just a person walking across the street the wrong way, a police officer can arrest you, detain you, put you in handcuffs, and send you to jail. Fine you. Oh, well, you missed your child support payment. Sorry, but we're going to take you to jail and you're going to not have a job and you're not going to be able to pay for your child anyway. And then you're going to owe the state this money and not your child and you're going to lose time. And these systems are absolutely insane. And that's why I say they are all failed. And we still operate with them without question. And then we hate ourselves and we hate our fellow man because we have to operate within these systems. And I'll
Mhm.
kill you for money that was created out of thin fucking air. Your life means nothing because I have to operate within these systems.
Mm.
It creates the madness that we live in life. And I'm tired of looking at it. And that's why I've been promoting, not just on your channel, but all over the place. All centralized systems are failed, no matter who's talking politics, because we really need to start getting down to the nitty gritty of this as a population. Like, these aren't leaders. They're not elected officials to lead us. They're supposed to represent us and serve us.
All right, then. A minute. Shout out to my man, Lunatic Libertarian. All right, but we're gonna be getting on with the rest of the show because, well, 10-minute segment, and hey, I basically felt like I just interviewed you. Shout out to my man.
And I thank you again for having me on your platform, Seth.
Hey, man, no problem. You can stick around. I'll probably bring you up for Tucker Carlson reaction because that one is crazy.
To get us more money, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So,
make sure to follow Lunatic Libertarian, man. He has his own YouTube channel and all that good stuff. So make sure to go over there and check him out if you like what he was saying.
since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion.
Weak.
And they don't even discuss that point.
Literally.
We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. They said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan?
I know, and that's the funny thing is they don't discuss a way to get these companies to get a refund. Never was discussed, even though the Dems said that Trump will have to pay back billions of dollars. I mean, like, trust me, Supreme Court didn't even lay that out, so we don't even know. We don't know. Maybe they might lay it out in the future and how they want that to be done, but all we know is that they just said no to the Economic Emergency Power Act tariffs. That's all they said no to. That's all. Let's remember that.
And to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years.
AKA, he ain't giving it back without a fight.
Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them? And do you view this as a potential undermining power for your
Well, we're going
negotiations?
straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. It's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries.
And I knew it. All right, that's a strategy. So pretty much he invoked section 122 tariffs, and this was a 10% global tariffs that he could only allow for 150 days or so. While he does that, he's going to do the investigation required to invoke tariffs under the 301 Act, or Section 301 of the Trade Act, which he can only invoke if there is an investigation done to find that there's unfair foreign trade tactics being used. And then he can go ahead and then put back those tariffs, of course, with proper investigation. So pretty much the 10% global tariffs is just an extension to allow them to do the investigation to pretty much invoke the tariffs that they originally had. And we'll see how that works out for them. As he said, there'll be more solidified tariffs. Well, legally solidified.
So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Mr. President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You claim that they will pay for them. What happens?
Well, like the farmers, we took care of farmers. You know, the farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. He said, you know, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So to the president's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today. It will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't? But why wouldn't
he? Doesn't even know.
But here's the thing, bro. Hakeem Jeffries, of course. And here's, like I said, I already know the propaganda. They're gonna sit here and try to say, "Oh, Trump's being a dictator. He's invoking tariffs anyway, even though the Supreme Court struck him down." No, they didn't. They didn't take away Trump's they didn't take away Trump's power to tariff. He can still tariff under the Trade Act. They just took away his. Well, I'm gonna be real with you. His, I guess, presidential powers, or his presidential right to invoke tariffs through the Economic Emergency Powers Act. That's it. That's all. All of his other powers are left, well, as I guess the Dems would say, unchecked.
And I watched him the other day interview. The guy didn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariff.
Excuse me.
There's several Republicans have said that.
Yeah. A few people.
Wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to.
To push tariffs.
I have the
through?
right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress. So there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process, not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress,
the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
been votes
you
in the
know why?
Senate against it.
yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need
to
218
do.
for something to pass.
Yeah,
it,
sure
sir.
we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left, because these people have been destroying. They are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%,
Yeah.
is that going to be for 150 days? Or
Yep.
do you want to charge that indefinitely?
Like I told you, the short term is going to be the Section 122, which is the 10% global tariffs. That's going to allow him 150 days to build a case for, well, invoking tariffs through Section 301 and 232, which, like I said, requires investigation to build a more durable case for these tariffs.
Have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to look. The man I met with yesterday, who owned a factory, was out of business. He was out of business, and now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said, every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plant. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country.
Man, can't be mad about that.
The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can lever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country.
And cut our spending by at least 40 to 60% if we want to have any hope of really balancing the budget. I'll be real with you. But trust me, that's not a very I'll be real with you. It's not a very politically correct idea. And I know what you're saying. Like I said, we're trying to balance the budget here. Yeah, but come on now. Try explaining to people how you're going to have to cut Social Security by 40%, Medicaid, Medicare by 40%, military spending 60% preferably. But a lot of people are going to be against that. Surprise, surprise.
We don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the prime minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, it would. And I realized then, she said, but sir, we are a small country. I said, you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, or a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well, but I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question.
Yep.
I think it's
let's go. I mean, I feel him on that one. I'll feel him. You know what? I think my man Lunatic Libertarian could also agree with me. Like, bro, what do you feel about that spew right there? And of course, which you're also posting in the private chat.
Yeah, I don't think people quite understand that tariffs are what created our country and secured the the individual away from taxes, right? I mean, and was allowing our individual freedoms to thrive and industry to be created, and there wasn't all this legislation and restriction on prosperity, because people don't innovate anymore. They just rely on the old systems, and that's why we're all stuck in a rut. Now, if we take control, right, take the reins away from global trade and these oligarchs, well, maybe we'll have some self-reliance again. Maybe we can start building new industries.
Bro, in my honest opinion, we'd probably jump like tenfold in technological advancement, because a lot of reason why we don't have that technological advancement in a lot of industries is because it would decimate the profitability of others, or the oligarchs.
Right. So they can no longer control these systems. And just like they're not going to go to the government and say, hey, bail me out, give me the taxpayer monies, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing to run my business. And we got backdoor deals that said, hey, I supported your campaign, so now I want that reciprocity back to me because I paid for your campaign. All that shit goes out the window. Yeah. And a lot of corruption can be gone from our systems if we actually start really instituting the way that our country ran 100 years ago. And I think, and then it gets rid of the horrible things that happen to other people in other countries that we don't see firsthand unless it's on a commercial saying, hey, can you donate $10.99 a month?
Okay, I hear you on that one. But like, look, I think one of the best points out right now is, one, we were relying on tariffs way before the income tax. And it kind of seems like people are trying to have this doomsday perspective about tariffs as if it hasn't helped us before. I mean, here's the main thing about it. This was meant to take back the reels, or honestly, to reverse a terrible decision. We made a decision that, we think it's okay to let these corporate guys ship our jobs overseas for cheaper products. That was a bad decision. And we got to correct that, because if we kept going there, if we kept letting that prosper, I'm be honest with you, we're going to walk ourselves off an economic cliff. And it was going to be China and India that were going to replace us as the economic superpower. And that was going to be the fact of the matter.
Well, and if you really look at where Britain took a lot of their wealth from, was India. You know what I mean? There was so much gold in that area, and there was so much, and yet again, you have people taking advantage of another culture and then decimating the population. And now you look at the state of India, it's kind of crazy. It's absolutely fucking wild.
Man, and I also do want to get this opinion off to you as well. So, because like I said, the Dems are complaining about this because it says a tax on the consumer. Of course, I disagree. But then what tax can we put on the corporate elite? So you guys just going to complain that it's going to get passed down to you? Because think about it like this. We could have raised the corporate tax, and all they got to do is pay their guys at CNN to tell you that that's a tax on the consumers. So don't raise the corporate tax. Don't invoke. I mean, think about like how far this can go. If they can get you to pretty much go against them being held accountable for shipping their jobs overseas, imagine what else they can be convinced of at this point.
Okay, what I think Trump is doing as a nationalist, right, is he's playing the long game to really institute old world thinking from the earlier parts of the the origins of our country, right? So if you look at getting rid of uh, the profiteers that say, oh well, the government can bail me out. Well, the government, he understands that the government gets its money from the people through the labor. And he understands that, well, if we have no means of production, then we have problems with crime. We have problems with people not having a purpose. And if you have regulation, then you can have no industry revolutions for, because they sell us solar, which is horrible. They sell us wind, which is horrible. Nuclear is probably the best way to go for energy sources. But you can't have innovation in industry when you have all these restrictions. So yet again, if you can create new industries in this country, well, you can have economic prosperity. And then if you're tariffing instead of taxing the people through trade, and then you can't have these backdoor deals, because you're going to be held to account of, okay, well, your product is doing this, this, and this. Well, okay, well, if it's harmful to the environment, well, we're going to tariff you for that production, or we're just going to, right, instead of regulating you, we're just going to tax you, right? Because that it creates the idea that you have to be responsible for what you create. You have to be accountable.
Here's the thing. I do believe that if the American people are going to be your biggest, like, I'm gonna be real with you, like your biggest profit margin, like where you get all your profits from, I believe that you should be working in our best interest as well, because we work in your best interest. Like, we're the reason why a lot of these companies stay afloat is because of our consumerism. So it isn't been insulting to the American people when they just go out there and ship their jobs overseas and not giving no value to us when their whole value is created off us. So that, and I just don't like how, honestly, that's being promoted through some Republicans and those on the left, how this whole free trade is the best thing that ever happens for us. And how, oh, well, we shouldn't want to tariff our partners for unfair trade tactics because it's going to make them feel some type of way. It's like, what about us? I guess it's just F us then. But I mean, look, and I'll be real with you, not a lot of Dems have an answer for that when I give it to them. Like, all right, well, you're saying we should just sell out to the corporate elites. And then here's the thing, if you don't believe in that, then what's your plan to bring back these jobs? They don't got one.
Right. And I don't know what we're supposed to do, because, right, if you look at global trade and what it's done as far as even an environmental impact on the planet, right? It's like we ship tires over to the desert and they just burn. But as long as we don't see it, we don't see it. The plastics that have desecrated the oceans. Well, as long as we don't see it, we don't see it. People have been, and this is what when I talk about it, people will always want convenience. It's like if you use glass and reusable products, and you don't have this problem. But yet again, we've canceled out that industry in our country because of convenience and economics, as far as what we've been told as far as our consumption, right? Well, we got to keep buying cars, we got to keep buying this, we got to keep buying that. Well, eventually we're going to run out of resources, right? Eventually we're going to run out of this, we're going to run out of that. It's unsustainable the way that we have it right now. I think that this is going to move us in the right direction as far as to true sustainability, instead of what we have now, as far as, well, we can consume until we're blue in the face, but we hate the products because they don't last, right? I can go buy a refrigerator that was made in the 1950s. It meets the criteria for efficiency, and it'll last. It's already lasted almost 100 years, and it'll last another 100 years. That's what I mean. We don't have to have this consumerism economics. But if you make stuff that lasts, right, then you're not reliant on money. Then you can create other things that create purpose for people instead of just money.
I mean, I give you that one. That's a great point. All right, man. Shout out to my man, Lunatic Libertarian, bro. All right, I'm gonna put you back in the background, bring you up later. Oh, man, shout out.
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you?
I was surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to, I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well, great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. Maybe I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation, but it's okay.
No, I'm just be real with you, like, bro. There was the corporate elites who were on Trump's side because they were getting their ass kicked by foreign producers, and then there's the corporate elites who weren't on Trump's side. Well, because you're kind of effing with the foreign producers, and this is how we make our money. And I mean, there's like a lot of businesses that honestly rely on foreign production. And when Trump is getting in the way of that, that kind of messes with their profit margin or in their overhead costs. Now, could that cost get transferred down to the consumer? Well, depending on the industry. If they're in a highly saturated market where they have a whole lot of competition, they have no room to raise their prices, which is why a lot of them are just going to have to take it to the chin on their profit margin or overhead costs. And that could hurt them. I'm not saying that this cannot hurt business. Trust me, it can. But to sit there and just say it goes directly to the consumer, wrong. But I do see where there's two sides on this whole debate on tariffs. There's the side that wins from it because they're no longer getting crushed by foreign producers. And there's the side that relies on foreign producers, so they're getting crushed by it. There's two arguments here, two sides to look from.
Okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, you know, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to make, our country is building a lot of things right now. And our country is doing really well. And we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, you know, I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so, but you're no longer going to be asked. Every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said, we can do these. We have alternatives. Yeah.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs, do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely. Barely. 3 or half.
1 week is so when they get to the door, the guy gonna look at him like, all right, man, get in here, man. Like that bullshit. You made a bullshit ruling, but man, get in here.
Happily invited. No, they're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come. Okay.
Mr. President,
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework, which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision, nothing changes.
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs. and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually, but he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
Are up as of now for this.
No, the India deal is on here.
So much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there's another war that you stopped and you should take a credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian Foreign Minister and the Kurdish General Muslim Abdi, he said that President Trump was directly involved in efforts to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration will make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea?
Well, it's a very different topic, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time. But all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy. He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together, really coming together well. And thus far, he's...
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on our conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support.
Been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Sir, thank you. Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them? Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal. They better negotiate. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800, 2 weeks ago, hang, some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane and they play them around the square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right
now. If you're wondering, like I was, like, why does Trump care about, Iranians taking out their own? Well, think about it like this. Remember, Iran also reported that there was Mossad and CIA agents pretty much, I guess, stoking the fires of these protests. Pretty much they were the ones involved with it and handing out weapons to protesters. And this is why things got ugly. Now, some of these guys were captured. I mean, Iran has said so. Now, could it be that Trump is saying, look, if you execute any one of these CIA guys or Mossad guys, there's going to be a problem because at that point you would be executing an American citizen. Maybe that might be it, but it is a little strange that we'd want to go to war with them or get involved over them executing their own people. Like, I know it sounds fucked up, like what's said, the protesters and all that. Yeah, but don't mean that we bomb Iran for executing their own people.
Then and there, I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating, and they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly, they didn't hang anybody.
No, they still carried out hangings. They hung this one guy, Ali, for pretty much, working with the Mossad. They said they found evidence on his phone that he was contacting a known Mossad agent, and he was hung. And that's pretty much the only guy that's been reported to be hung in Iran.
But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in hell. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, you mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe and also those tariffs that have been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, that you sanctions?
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. And they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows, and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things: energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today?
I
And
am.
do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families.
I mean, look, you guys got to understand. There was people who, well, Ronald Reagan argued for free trade.